Here is a man at 52. Good suit, good shoes, and a 45mm gold-tone chronograph he bought off a department store counter for a couple $100s. On a younger guy, it might pass. On him, in a quiet room full of people his own age, it is doing the exact opposite of what he thinks. He believes that watch makes him look like he has arrived. At least, that is what he thinks. Because the watch on your wrist at this age gets read in seconds, and a lot of men in their 50s have it completely backwards. So here are 5 watches that quietly make a man in his 50s look cheap, no matter what he paid, and then 5 that are worth every single dollar. And the watch that proves the whole point at the end costs a fraction of what you would expect. We start with the 5 working against you. Number 1. Picture the wrist before anything else. A slab of polished steel about the size of a small hockey puck. A fat, rotating bezel, 3 subdials the owner has never once used, all on a wrist that has gotten a little leaner over the years. 44mm and up. When a man is 25, a big steel diver reads as energy, and his frame carries the visual weight. By his 50s, that same case stops reading as presence and starts reading as overcompensation. The watch is shouting, and everyone in the room can hear it. Now here's the part that flips what younger guys are taught. At this stage of life, restraint is the actual flex. The men in that room with real money are almost always wearing something you can barely make out across a table. So when a 50-year-old straps on the biggest, loudest sports watch in the catalog, it does not say confident. It says he is still trying to prove something, and the trying is the tell. A 36 to 40mm watch on an older wrist looks deliberate. A 46mm one looks like he grabbed whatever filled the most space. None of this is about the brand. You can spend a small fortune on an oversized watch and trip this exact wire. The second one trips it for a completely different reason, and it has nothing to do with size. Number 2. Look closely at the lugs, the little arms that hold the strap to the case. On a gold-tone fashion watch, that is where the story always ends. Gold tone is not gold. It is usually plated brass, a microscopically thin layer of color sprayed over cheap base metal, and the high contact points wear first. Within a year or two, the plating thins at the lugs, then at the edges of the case, and the brassy yellow underneath shows through. On a 20-year-old, it looks like a phase. On a grown man in his 50s, it reads as costume jewelry, the watch equivalent of a clip-on tie. The whole reason a man buys gold tone is to signal a little success and warmth without paying for solid gold. But real gold has a heavier, softer, quieter look this can never fake. Actual gold does not need to announce itself. Gold tone shouts about money from across the room and then chips 3 months later to reveal there was never any money there at all. If you love the warmth of a yellow watch, the honest move is a simpler steel piece you can afford in full, or genuine solid gold if the budget is truly there. Plated brass pretending to be neither does the one thing you cannot afford at this age. It looks like a fake, which is the perfect setup for number 3, because the next one is a fake on purpose. Number 3. The replica. The counterfeit luxury watch built to look like a Rolex or a Patek for a tiny slice of the price. In your 20s, you could maybe get away with it because the people around you were not paying close attention and could not tell anyway. That is not your life at 50. By this age, the people in your circle are exactly the ones who notice. Your colleagues, your golf group, the guy across the negotiating table. Half of them own the real thing or have shopped for it seriously. They clock the tells without even meaning to. The cheap ones still have a second hand that stutters around the dial in little ticks instead of the smooth sweep of a real mechanical movement. The weight is wrong in the hand. The proportions of the date window or the crown are slightly off. The bracelet finishing is dull where it should be crisp. Wear a fake into that room and you are not borrowing the status of the real watch. You are quietly telling everyone who knows that you will pretend to be something you are not, and that is a far worse signal than wearing something modest. This is the one that actually damages how people see you, because it is about character, not money. An honest Seiko earns more genuine respect than a fake Rolex every single time, and it is not close. The fourth one is not a fake at all. It is something most men already own. Number 4. The smartwatch worn as your only watch. And to be clear, the smartwatch itself is a great tool for workouts, for sleep tracking, for notifications. it earns its place. The problem is wearing it as your single piece into a professional or social setting where the watch is part of how you present yourself. In that room, a rubber sport band and a glowing rectangle sends one quiet message. It says you did not make a decision. You outsourced it to a tech company, the same way everyone around you did. And then there is the aging problem, which is brutal. A smartwatch is a gadget, and gadgets date instantly. Last year's model already looks old, and in 5 years, it looks like a relic you forgot to upgrade. A good mechanical watch does the opposite. It looks better with a little wear, it can run for decades, and it carries a sense that the man wearing it thinks past the next software update. There is one more thing, and it matters more at 50 than it did at 30. An appliance never becomes an heirloom. Nobody inherits a smartwatch. Nobody opens a drawer after their father is gone, finds the Apple Watch he wore in 2026, and feels anything at all. Keep the smartwatch for the gym. Wear something with a heartbeat everywhere that counts. The fifth one is the quietest mistake of all, and almost nobody notices they are making it. Number 5. The old quartz watch, on a strap that died years ago. This is the scratched-up daily he bought in his 30s, still running, still on the original leather band that has gone dry, cracked, and dark with 2 decades of sweat. The watch is not the real problem. Plenty of cheap quartz watches look perfectly sharp. The problem is the neglect, and the strap is where neglect shows first. A stiff, frayed, sweat-stained band quietly tells the room that this man either cannot afford to replace it or simply stopped caring how he looks. And at 50, neither is the message you want to send. The strap is the cheapest part of the entire watch, and it is the part everyone sees up close. A fresh leather strap costs less than a decent lunch, and swapping it takes 10 minutes. So when a man leaves a rotting band on his wrist for years, the cost was never the obstacle. Attention was. Neglect on the wrist gets read as neglect everywhere else. The same glance that sizes up unpolished shoes or a stained collar. The fix is almost insultingly easy. Replace the strap, wipe the case, and a humble 10-year-old watch instantly reads as cared for instead of forgotten. That is the entire list of what drags a man down. Now for the part that matters. The 5 watches worth every dollar at this age, starting with the one that does the heavy lifting for almost any man. Number 1, and this is the one to float to the middle for a reason. The Rolex Datejust in 36 or 41 millimeters. Starts in the $8,000 to $9,000 range for steel at retail. Pictured on the wrist at 2 completely different events. In a boardroom, it reads as quiet competence, the watch of a man who is serious but not flashy. At his daughter's wedding, with a jacket on, it reads as classic and correct. That range is the whole point. The Datejust is the rare watch recognized by people who know watches, and read as simply elegant by people who do not. It does not shout a price. It does not chase a trend. It has looked essentially the same for decades, which is exactly why it never looks dated. Around the table, the people who matter clock it instantly and think, that man has his life in order. Everyone else just registers a clean, handsome watch and moves on. There is no wrong room for it. It is the default answer for a man in his 50s, and it earned that title by being almost impossible to get wrong. If you only ever buy one proper watch in your life, and you want zero risk of looking like you tried too hard, this is the safest money you can spend. It is the opposite of every mistake on the first half of this list, all in one piece of steel. If this is sharpening how you think about what is on your wrist, take 1 second and subscribe, because this is what we do here every week. Now, the next one is the connoisseur's quiet alternative to the watch I just showed you. Number 2, the Omega Aquaterra in 38 to 41 millimeters, starts around $7,000. Think of this as the answer for the man who looked at the Datejust, respected it, and then thought, I would rather not wear the single most recognizable status watch on the planet. The Aquaterra sits right at the accessible end of true Swiss luxury, and it is genuinely excellent on the merits, with an in-house movement that is certified for accuracy and shrugs off magnetic fields that would wreck most watches. The clean dial, with its subtle vertical teak pattern, reads as taste rather than logo. And that is the entire appeal. The Datejust says, I made it in a language everyone speaks. The Aquaterra says the same thing, in a language only the people worth impressing can read. Wear it into a room, and the watch guys lean in, because they know exactly what it is and what it costs, while everyone else just sees a sharp, understated watch on a confident man. For a 50-year-old who values being respected by the few over being recognized by the many, this is arguably the smarter buy of the two. It is the connoisseur's Datejust, and it quietly tells the right people that you did your homework. The third one drops the price considerably and still walks into any room in the world without flinching. Number 3. The Cartier Tank. Starts around $4,000 for steel, which makes it the most affordable watch on this entire worth it list. And it might be the most universally flattering. The Tank was designed back in 1917, its clean rectangular case inspired by the shape of a tank viewed from above, and it has been a symbol of effortless taste ever since. It works on two levels at the same time. To people who know watches, the Tank carries deep history and serious design credibility, a piece worn by some of the most stylish figures of the last century. To people who know nothing about watches, it simply reads as elegant and refined, the watch of a man with quiet confidence. Nothing about it is trying. It is thin, it slides under a cuff, it pairs with a suit or a sweater, and it never once raises its voice. For a man in his 50s who wants to look like he has impeccable taste without spending boardroom money, the Tank is almost a cheat code. It is the proof that looking expensive and being expensive are two separate things. A century of the most stylish men alive have reached the same conclusion about the Tank, and they were not wrong. The fourth one is where this stops being only about how you look today and starts being about what you leave behind. Number 4, and pay close attention, because this is the one with a second life built into it. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. Starts in the $6,000 to $8,000 range for steel. On the front, it is a gorgeous Art Deco rectangle with the clean lines of the 1930s. But the Reverso has a trick no other watch on this list can match. The case flips over completely on its track. It was invented in 1931 so polo players could turn the dial face down and protect the glass during a match. That flip leaves a smooth, blank metal caseback staring up at you. And here is why that matters at 50. You engrave it. A name, a date, a few words to a son or a daughter. Jaeger-LeCoultre is one of the most respected names in all of watchmaking, the maker that quietly built movements for other famous brands. So you are getting serious horological credibility, not just a pretty shape. But the real argument for this watch is not how it looks on you. It is what it becomes after you. This is the heirloom made physical. The watch a man who has actually arrived, hands down with his own words carved into the back. A smartwatch goes in a drawer and dies. A Reverso gets worn by someone who loved you, decades from now, with your message against their wrist. The fifth one is the cheapest watch in the whole video, and it is the one that proves everything I have said is true. Number 5. The Hamilton Intra-matic. A couple $1,000s, and in plain three-hand form, even less than that. This is the watch that lands the entire point of the video. Because here's the trap you could fall into watching everything up to now. You could decide that looking good at 50 requires Rolex and Omega money, throw up your hands, and go right back to the gold tone fashion watch we started with. The Hamilton exists to prove that is nonsense. It is a Swiss-made watch from a brand with real history, styled after the clean designs of the 1960s, with a proper mechanical movement quietly ticking away inside. On the wrist, it looks deliberate, vintage, and tasteful. Put it next to a watch costing 5 times as much, and most people in the room could not tell you which one was the expensive one, because taste was never about the price tag. It was about restraint, proportion, and care. Every single thing the first half of this list got wrong. A man at 50 does not need to spend a luxury figure to look like he has it figured out. He needs to stop wearing the watch that is trying too hard, and start wearing the one that is simply right. The Hamilton is the cheapest way to do exactly that, and that is what makes this whole list honest, instead of a commercial for watches you will never buy. So go back to that man at 52 from the start, the one with the 45mm gold tone chronograph on his wrist. He did not need more money to fix the picture. He needed to take that watch off. The pattern under all 10 of these is the same. The watches that make a man look cheap are the ones trying to convince the room of something. The watches worth every dollar are the ones with nothing to prove. At 25, you can wear noise. At 50, the quiet watch wins every time. whether it cost a couple thousand or pushed past 8. If this changed how you will look at a wrist tomorrow, the channel is right here. Pick the one watch on this list that fits the life you actually live, and let it be the last cheap-looking choice you ever make.